Have you ever wondered why people risk so many dangers to reach the summit of the Himalayas? Or why they try to find the bottom of the Mariana Trench? Or why they consciously put themselves in danger by bungee jumping? Why do MotoGP or Formula One drivers push the speed limits? We were taught that speed is always dangerous and risky, that it's a great choice if we want to die young. We all accept this rule as true, don't we? But what if I told you that this rule isn't entirely true? What if speed actually keeps our brains alive? Let's find out how this happens. Actually, when you speed up, your mind doesn't panic. On the contrary, your senses sharpen, and you focus completely on your surroundings. The locus coeruleus norepinephrine cycle resets, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. Your awareness sharpens like a honed blade and focuses on its target like an arrow shot from a bow. In fact, the brain does not flee from danger. It first tries to understand and analyze the danger. The brain runs thousands of simulations every second. It calculates, adjusts, and strives to adapt. This is not chaos. On the contrary, it is training. The real danger is not going too fast, but not awakening the mind. Because when constantly in motion, the brain learns to see, decide, and live anew. And this keeps the brain constantly alive and alert. In fact, this is one of the factors that prevents rapid aging. No, speed is not always bad, and it does not kill. What matters is what the brain can learn from speed. In reality, speed measures how alert your brain is. In today's societies, speed is constantly portrayed as bad and deadly. Every headline, every news story, every warning sign, every well-meaning voice repeats this, as if movement itself were the enemy. Our nomadic ancestors were constantly on the move. But the truth is more complex. It's not speed that destroys you, it's losing control. We live in an age and a culture that equates safety with stillness. We slow down. We avoid risk. We call it wisdom. Yet the mind was created for challenge and stimulation. Our nomadic ancestors were constantly stimulated. They had to constantly watch and listen to their surroundings for the possibility of encountering a predator on the savanna or for hunting. When the mind constantly experiences a lack of stimulation, it quietly begins to deteriorate. This lack of stimulation lies at the root of Alzheimer's-like diseases. Neural pathways shrink, reaction time increases, awareness decreases. As I mentioned in my previous video, when you are on the road with your motorcycle, your mind has to be aware of all stimuli and enters a flow state. This is why you feel younger and more energetic. The underlying reason for this is actually the constant stimulation of the mind. That's why the rider feels that magnificent thing that people of this age have forgotten: the clarity and fluidity within movement. When accelerating, the brain doesn't immediately perceive danger. It reawakens your attention. The senses sharpen, vision narrows, sound becomes clearer. Every micro movement integrates instinctively with the machine. Now the cylinder noise and your heartbeat start pulsing at the same frequency. You enter the flow. Before and after lose their meaning. You focus only on that moment. Science calls this arousal balance. So where does speed become dangerous? When you start pushing the limits of your skill, your brain loses its ability to control. And when you cross that line, the alarm bells start ringing for you. If you ride within your skill limits, your brain doesn't panic. On the contrary, it adjusts. The locus coeruleus balances alertness. The prefrontal cortex relaxes. You control by feeling, not by forcing. But today's risk-averse society misunderstands this. From the outside, it looks like madness. For the driver, however, it is harmony. Body, machine, and awareness merge in a single rhythm. The real problem is not going too fast. On the contrary, It is creating a monotonous life where nothing moves us, where we constantly perform the same routines. And the longer we stay in that comfort zone, the more the brain forgets how to focus, react, and truly live. So what actually happens when speed ceases to be a danger and becomes awareness? It all starts in the brainstem, the body's primary response center. When you hit the gas, millions of data points flood in from the inner ear, muscles, and eyes. A small cluster of neurons called the locus coeruleus regulates the brain's alertness level. If it overworks, you feel panic. When it works at the right level, something extraordinary happens: flow. In flow, the brain no longer expends energy on fear or prediction. The overthinking prefrontal cortex begins to quiet down. Science calls this temporary hypofrontality. It explains why a difficult turn is navigated easily and effortlessly. The noise begins to fade. Awareness begins to take its place. You no longer control the driving. You become one with it. The paradox that most people miss is this: when balanced, speed doesn't tire the brain. It organizes it. Within milliseconds, the LC-NE system finely tunes focus. The heart rate increases, but the heart rhythm stabilizes. Mind and body synchronize. It's like being in a meditation. EEG data shows increased beta and gamma waves, signs of perceptual clarity, not chaos. Like reaching nirvana. This is not an adrenaline addiction. It is certainty born of confidence. You realize that control is not something forced, but something gained through awareness. That's why experienced drivers describe moments of high speed as peaceful. Not because the world has slowed down, but because the self has slowed down. The voice of overthinking fades away. Every turn, every breath becomes feedback. You no longer resist that moment. You flow with it. This is not just a neurological process. It is a philosophy of harmony. It is confronting and merging with life itself. The brain is designed to sharpen itself with measurable difficulty, and it constantly needs practice. If there is too little stimulation, it dulls. If there is too much, it collapses. But right in the middle, on that fine line where risk intersects with skill, the mind reaches its clearest state. Driving is actually a dialogue between chaos and clarity. Every movement teaches the nervous system a single lesson. Freedom lies not in control, but in the ability to respond. You cannot dominate the road. You merge with it. You listen to it. You cannot suppress fear. You transform it. And through this transformation, you reach a brain that learns, feels, and lives anew. Speed is not an escape from thought. It is the purest form of being yourself, of awareness. Every second proves that awareness is a muscle, and the road is its gym. When it lasts long enough, you realize that speed isn't about escaping time. It's about facing it. Time becomes uncertain. Its before and after lose meaning. Every moment on the road forces you into the present, into this moment. When you're approaching a turn, you can't think about yesterday or tomorrow, and that is freedom. Not ruling over life, but being in harmony with it. The Stoics understood this centuries before neuroscience. Epictetus said, "You cannot control what happens, only your reaction to it." Driving makes this real. The machine becomes your mirror, showing you how meaningless the illusion of control is and the peace that comes when you let it go. In philosophy, tranquility is not the absence of movement. It is the ability to be with movement. A calm driver is not slow. They are in harmony. On that iconic machine, every decision, every breath, every lean becomes a silent dialogue between awareness and confidence. Perhaps this is what the modern world has forgotten. We try to slow down the world, yet we must learn to pass through it in balance. Consciously chosen speed is a teacher. It reminds us that peace is not found in stopping, but in flowing with intention and sensitivity. Maybe the problem wasn't speed at all. Maybe the problem was the fear of losing control, our refusal to trust movement. Because when you learn to move with precision, the world doesn't blur, it becomes clear. The path doesn't test you, it teaches you. And in that teaching, you remember what it truly means to be awake. So when was the last time you experienced such a clear moment? A moment when fear became focus and movement became peace? Share your story in the comments.